The phone call, the light from the cell phone illuminated Gabriel's face in the dark room. The name was still saved. Marina, 19. His fingers hovered over the contact before touching the screen. The ringtone seemed to echo in the silence of the sleeping house. On the other end, a soft, familiar voice answered. It was Marina, but with a deeper resonance, perhaps from the years. "Hello," he heard a small sigh, almost imperceptible. "Gabriel." It's been a long time. He leaned back on the couch, closing his eyes. He said he'd passed by the street of their old school, that the buildings were different, modernized, but that there were still chalk marks on the exposed brick. Colorful scars of a stubborn past. Marina walked to the window of her apartment. The city sparkled below, impersonal and cold. She remembered the hearts he used to draw with their initials, how she used to complain it was cheesy, and how he defended those public declarations of affection. He gave a low laugh, a rough nostalgic sound. He recalled the after-school meets, her uniform, his worn-out hoodie, the endless conversations on the curb, how they talked about everything except the future. She sat on the windowsill hugging her knees. She said they were afraid of the future back then. Deep down they knew it would separate them, but in that moment they felt invincible. It was a painful and sweet truth. Gabriel looked at the family photos on the shelf. Wife, kids, a life built with care. He wondered for an instant about the Eiffel Tower-shaped piggy bank, the one that held coins for a trip that never happened. Marina replied that her mother had donated it during a cleanout. She, in turn, remembered the travel magazines, sold at a used bookstore years later without ceremony. Each object was a fragment of an abandoned dream. The conversation flowed to the weddings on the rooftop. The cheap wine, the grapes, the Aladdin soundtrack. He described the runs to the river after those nights, the cold water, the laughter, the feeling of shipwreck. Marina smiled upon hearing the phrase she once said, "Shipwrecked in love." It sounded ridiculous and true at the same time. The clock read almost midnight. He told her about his life, architecture, family, children. She shared hers, piano lessons, a marriage that ended, the chosen solitude of a minimalist apartment. The piano in the corner, a silent witness, was a pause heavy with meaning. He then confessed a recurring thought. The idea that there was a certain pleasure in suffering that longing, the desire to see her again, to rewrite the ending. Marina gently warned him not to idealize the past. She said their story was beautiful precisely because it was short. It stopped at its peak, like a breath held in time. If it had continued, perhaps it would have become ordinary, full of trivialities and everyday wear. Gabriel knew, deep down, she was right. He asked if she was happy. She answered she was at peace, that it was different. He said he had a good life, a family he loved, but that there were nights he got lost in the what-if. Nights of pure longing, without romanticism. It was then that Marina offered a gift, to play for him right then, over the phone. He accepted, surprised and moved. He heard the noise of the cell phone being set down, the scraping of the piano bench. And then, the first notes of Remember Me filled the space. Soft, melancholic, perfect. Gabriel closed his eyes and was transported. To the rooftop, to the moonlight, to the sweet taste of cheap wine, to the youthful certainty that love was eternal. The music flowed like a river of memories. Each note was a patchwork of that time. The chalk, the plaza, the river, the kisses, the entwined hands, the whispered promises, the future that seemed like an adventure, not a threat. When the last note faded, he was silent. Emotion tightened the chest of this 40-year-old man. "Thank you," he whispered. "You're welcome," she replied softly. He thanked her for still playing like someone telling a story. She confirmed she was telling one. Then, Marina made a request, that he remember her with a smile, as he himself had asked in a letter never sent. He revealed he had found and read that letter years later. She confessed to writing it on the eve of his departure. Why hadn't she sent it? He questioned. She answered she was afraid he would stay. He, in turn, admitted being afraid to ask her to stay. That was the core of it all. Two parallel fears. Two young people protecting themselves from pain, creating a greater pain. "Marina," he called. "Yes, if you ever want to get coffee and laugh about our lost adolescence, my number is still the same." "I know." never deleted it either. They said goodbye with a weighted goodnight, and with a remember me that sounded like a closure. The call ended. The silence returned, but now it was different. Lighter, as if a burden had been shared. Gabriel looked again at the family photos. He loved that life, wouldn't trade it, but he allowed himself to keep a corner in his chest. A small, sacred space for that teenage love, for the chalk kisses that time did not erase. Across the city, Marina remained by the window. The night was coming to an end. She felt a strange peace, a conclusion. The longing hadn't gone away, but it had transformed. It had become part of her inner landscape, no longer a wound. She looked at her own hands, the same ones that once wrote names on walls, that touched a loved face with urgency, that waved goodbye from inside a bus. Now they were hands that taught lessons, that played piano, that had built a life. She smiled at her reflection in the glass. "Remember me," he had said, as if it were possible to forget. Some people aren't forgotten. They become coordinates on the map of the soul. She went to the piano, covered it with the lid, turned off the light, and let the early morning envelop her. Dawn would bring a new day, with its routine and meanings. But in that instant, she allowed herself to inhabit the limbo, the sacred territory of memory, where two teenagers were still kissing under the stars, where the hearts scrawled in chalk remained intact, where love, even lost, never ceased to exist. Like a song that doesn't end, just takes a breath and waits. Thank you for getting this far. Subscribe to the channel and receive more videos like this.